I forget things, so I want to finish my thought back on police training, because there's 7 police officers here, and I do feel bad for them for their training, because I think there's such a mental load on them that is driving them crazy. But I said that back in the day when I was young, they used to call it police brutality when things would get a little out of hand. Today they kill you. But the bigger problem today is people are afraid of police. So I don't call it police brutality today. And because it's a product of the Patriot Act, I call it homegrown, state-sponsored police terrorism. Terrorism. And I have to say that I'm not afraid of police. They do make a lot of people afraid. I love them, they're Americans, and I feel bad for the stress load they have on them because of their training, but it's politically motivated, it's politically violent, it's wrong, and I just had to get that off my chest.
Woo! Woo!
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Garret Kirkland. I am actually coming to you from Boston, Mass. I'm a resident of Lowell, Mass. I was part of the infamous Boston Free Speech rally.
Second one.
The second one. I was actually part of both of them. I was at the first one, and I was an organizer for the second one. I come from a very strange path to get to you today and to be part of this whole pushing back against the violent left that we're at now. So just a quick background. I'm basically a libertarian, progressive, conservative, socialist. I'm kind of all over the place. I know I'm partisan, but they just call you the alt-right. They don't care. Whatever. All of these labels that we're affixing to ourselves and we're just lining up, it's just tribalism all over the place. And people are just taking these banners like, I'm a Democrat, so I have to fight the Republicans, and I'm a libertarian, so I have to fight the socialists, and blah, 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 blah. All of these labels are just dividing us and making us conflict with each other, when instead we could just be talking about our differences. Talking about where, say, a libertarian and a socialist can get along on, say, anti-war, non-interventionism. Just a quick... What really blows my mind is, like, so I started in 2007 as a libertarian. I was in the Fed, I was anti-war, I was a Ron Paul Republican. In 2011, I found myself in the Occupy Boston camps because they were protesting the banks, they were protesting the wars. In 2011, I noticed during those camps that identity politics really started to take root and just spread. And everybody stopped talking about the banks and the wars, and they just started talking about, well, this is my gender, this is my sexuality, this is my color, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just all these different divisions. We used to call ourselves the 99%, but then all of a sudden it was, you know, I'm this faction, I'm that faction, I'm this faction, and none of the factions got along, and there was a progressive stack and ordered how people could even talk. Going into 2013, I took up the anti-war movement for Hands Off Syria. I got very involved in calling for organized protests. I led some marches in Boston and Washington, D.C. against the Syrian war, against the U.S. intervention in Syria. That was under Obama. Coming into the elections of 2015, and I was going through the timelines, it just blows my mind. Coming into 2015, the elections, I always had in my mind that if a Republican took office, then the left would get back on the anti-war train. But instead, what we started to see starting in 2015 was what I call the blue shirts. Because all of a sudden we had leftist groups, or quote-unquote left groups, going out and interfering with the other side's rallies. You had, you know, they were blocking traffic, they were stopping access, they were attacking people who were coming out of Donald Trump rallies. They were using political violence to try to stop Trump from getting elected. And that really started to bother me. Going further into the elections, it got more severe up until when he actually did get elected, and then J20 happened, January 20th, the inauguration day. All of a sudden we have Antifa now. And Antifa just attacks anybody who they even think is on the wrong side of anything. If you talk to somebody who has the wrong opinion, if you talk to somebody with a MAGA hat, you must be a MAGA yourself, and that makes you a Nazi somehow, just because you voted for the Republican. And it's just so mind-blowing to me that we're at this place in this society where we are literally just going back into the 30s and we're just fighting each other in the streets to try to get our political ideologies across. In Boston, when we had our free speech rally, especially the second one, we had literally a leftist, centrist platform of speakers. You know, myself, I was speaking about threats to free speech. Palestine, there's bills in Congress, the federal Congress and state Congresses, to prevent you from talking about the Palestinian occupation. There's, Facebook, YouTube, and Google are censoring content from the left and the right to prevent you from being able to get out your alternative, narratives, whether you're an anti-war progressive or you're an anti-war righty. We've been seeing in our state alone, there's been a number of cases where people have been tried for their words as if they were crimes. We had Cameron D'Ambrosio back a few years ago who was arrested for terroristic threats. Basically, we had that defeated by showing, courtroom solidarity. Recently, we had Michelle Carter charged, convicted with manslaughter just for using her words. So there's a significant threat to free speech. So when I went out to the Boston free speech rallies, I didn't go out to support the alt-right or KKK or the Antifa or even the MAGAs. I was going up because I see a direct threat to speech across the board. And I think we saw that here today when these people came up here and they had their speaker here on the stack, which was great to have someone speak, but it was unfortunate that they used their opportunity to speak to just turn it into a bunch of name-calling. You are all white supremacists if you were part of the Boston Free Speech Rally, and if you don't walk away with us today, you're white supremacists, yada, yada, yada. All I wanted to say here today is that we all have our own different, diverse opinions and perspectives. And until we can get back to the point where we can talk to our political opponents and not bring violence against them, this country is never going to get better. We're never going to go the right way. We're never going to end the wars. We're never going to get the corrupt banks off our backs. It's never going to end. And really, that's about all I really had to say. And I just really want to thank you guys for coming out, stand up for
Yeah.
I'm aware of, so with the free speech stuff and with this, I'm very aware of the threats and the censoring and the intimidation that's used to keep people from coming out. So, this crowd here may not look, super huge, but in reality, consider who has been threatened and kept away because of the threats of political violence. You guys are patriots, whether you're, a flag-waving American or you just believe in the Constitution or you just believe in the free exchange of ideas. And I appreciate all of you for standing up. Thank you.
Woo!